Does the presidency also want to cancel Valentine's? I know so. we're cutting costs here and there.
Well, Valentine's private costs.
The boy says pressure. Maybe the president can intervene so that so the pressure can reduce a bit.
It's private pocket. But the women too, we have to. It's pressure on everybody.
It's pressure on everybody.
Both men and
right. All right, Rodaline, I want to start off with you on this one. And as you mentioned, you're a public interest activist. Advocate. Fantastic. Now, Ken Ofori-Atta has been a controversial figure, I would say, in Ghana's financial landscape. You'll recall that members of his own party, sometime, maybe in 2022, I believe it was, were asking that he be removed for one reason or another. That sparked a lot of debate, and in fact, for those who were quite vocal about his removal, they didn't have a very easy time. Given the posturing of the OSP yesterday and what he had to say, in fact, going as far as declaring Ken Ofori-Atta as a fugitive of the law, the optics from yesterday, how do you think, or what role does that play in accountability? Are you feeling confident that we're going to start seeing some changes in that arena?
Good morning to our cherished viewers, and good morning to my sisters and my daughter here. I must say I wasn't surprised at what the OSP said yesterday. Looking at where we've come from, Ken Ofori-Atta has been in the news forever, and not for the right reasons. It's always been talk about one policy that doesn't go well, or a loan that doesn't sit well with Ghanaians, or people wanting him out and the president not, pushing him out and all that. So we've come a long way with Ken Ofori-Atta. So I wasn't surprised yesterday when the OSP issued that statement. But looking at the whole scenario, I figure that Ken left this country, I'm told, around 2nd January. That was whilst the Akufo-Addo administration was still on. So Akufo-Addo was still president.
That's right.
So he was able to go. And now we are being told by his lawyers that he has gone for medical treatment. He's out of the jurisdiction indefinitely. What does that mean? Going out of the jurisdiction indefinitely. So in very cool terms, he has absconded. That's what it means. So if the OSP is calling out on him to either avail himself or be declared a fugitive, I think it's in the right direction. We have read, because we're not part of government, but we have read and heard that almost all loans that were contracted in this country, his company, Databank, had a share in it. He benefited from our woes, so to speak. From what we're reading now, there were so many others. We're now looking at Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited.
That's right.
And we're looking at the ambulance purchase, the spare parts for ambulances. We're looking at the National Cathedral.
Indeed.
These were all public interest issues. People wanted to know more about how government was spending our money, about how government was dealing with people on our behalf. And it seems like Ken Ofori-Atta was in the midst of all this, and therefore we need for him to speak up and tell us whether what we are hearing, what we are thinking is what it is, or he has something else different from what we are thinking. Did Ken Ofori-Atta do the things that the OSP is accusing him of doing? That we wouldn't know until the case is opened up.
That's right.
But as a Ghanaian, I think that we owe it to ourselves to make sure that Ken Ofori-Atta is brought back to answer for all these things, because they did happen. And we all know, if for nothing at all, the pensioners, the retirees, those who brought up their monies and put up in bonds and stuff, we saw them.
Talking about the haircuts.
The haircuts. We saw all those things, the effect it had on our populace. And therefore, we are willing to be patient enough for Ken to come back and tell us exactly what happened.
Now, Rodaline, bear with me. After that presser, his lawyers, Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers, have said that he will avail himself. This is following that initial letter that indicated that he was sick and would be unavailable indefinitely. From that follow-up letter, it appears that maybe the OSP will not have to forcibly get him back onto Ghanaian soil, that he will avail himself. So we also watch that space to see what happens next. But you say he should come willingly and provide the much-needed answers that Ghanaians want.
Indefinitely. Keep that word. He has left this jurisdiction indefinitely. You understand? Which means he has gone. He's absconded. That's what they are trying to tell us. So unless we get him extradited back to this country, or we force him and do it the Umaru Diko way. I don't know if you ever knew head of Umaru Diko.
Umaru Diko.
Umaru Diko. Yes, in 1983, a Nigerian transport minister was wanted for corrupt practices. And he was put in a crate. He was kidnapped, put in a crate, and they tried to get him out of Stansted Airport in London.
Rodaline, surely you are not you are not
I am advocating that if you don't
you are not advocating that we cut our former finance minister in a crate.
I am advocating
and bring him back home.
I am advocating that whatever way we will need to do to bring him back, we will bring him back. No one is going to take our money and run away with it. That's what I'm saying. No one. If it means creating him, we will create him. And we'll create anybody else who has run away with our money. That is something that everybody has to be aware of, that you cannot put a country to this level of poverty in the midst of plenty, and you run away and go and sit somewhere. Do you know that the monies that we are talking about could have built world-class clinics and hospitals where he wouldn't need to be where he is seeking medical help? You know that. But he has left us. How many of us can go to Mayo's clinic in the US? How many of us? But he has been able to take our money, get a new organ for himself, and feel good enough to fly out of this country to America to get treatment. The rest of us can't. And so whatever it takes for us to bring him back through extradition, because I think that with the Trump government now, I don't think that Trump is going to be sitting there looking at an African minister who has embezzled funds in his country, allegedly embezzled funds in his country, coming to sit there and live posh. I don't think so. I think we can get him back. But I'm saying, if we cannot, we might have to do it the unconventional way. And that is creating him and bringing him back, if it's possible.
Rodaline, you're very passionate about this. I mean, when you mentioned the crate and all of that, what do you say to those that say we're passing judgment prematurely? Yes, he's been invited by the OSP and investigations should take place. What do you say to that? He hasn't actually gone before a judge or a jury.
And that's why I said he should come back. If he can't come back willingly, and if he's going to run away from us, from justice, the only other way is to bring him back by force. You understand? Look, Ken Ofori-Atta cannot walk the streets of New York freely if we feel that he has absconded. If we feel that now he's a fugitive. He's a fugitive now. Anyone can have a citizen's arrest on him if we find him in any part of the world. Anyone can say that you're under arrest because you're wanted in your country for such and such. Even though he has not gone to court and been proven. You understand? But we have got a statement out there that says that he's a fugitive from justice. That is enough for anybody to grab him anywhere and bring him back for us to ask him questions. And that goes for everybody else. So many operatives have left this country and they think that they've gone for free. All I'm trying to say is that Ghanaians are not going to sit back and let anyone just take our money and go out for free. Whatever it's going to take for us to bring you back, if it means, that's what I said, if it means creating you, we will create you and bring you back as cargo. For you to come and answer the questions.
Rodaline, many Ghanaians believe that the political elites are rarely held accountable. Yesterday, if you listened to the proceedings on the floor of Parliament and heard from the likes of Minority Leader Fenyo Markin, he repeated phrases like, as a political class, we have to stick with each other. We shouldn't do this to each other. From where you sit, What kind of signals does that send to the everyday Ghanaian? And are you confident that the political class will one day surely be held to account for any misdeeds?
We are trying to get them to account for their misdeeds now. What the minority leader was saying is trying to buy time for himself and the rest of his people. There is nothing like a political class. We vote for them. And we vote for them to go into parliament, make laws, and not be part of grabbing our resources. Once you leave that, making laws, and seeing to the welfare of your constituents, and you decide to dip your hands into the coffers of this country, or you go into deals that are detrimental to our economy, we have every right to come after you, political class or no political class. Political class does not mean that you should go doing things that are unholy towards your own country. So telling them to scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, we are saying goodbye. No, hello, it's not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen anymore. Where we've gotten to as a country, we need to sit up. Look, there's so much happening in the world today that is going to affect us, whether we like it or not. There's a new government in place in the US. It's cutting off aid. US aid is gone.
That's right.
It's cutting off aid to Ghana and to other African countries and other developing countries. How are we going to be able to fill in those gaps if we do not take back these illicit monies that have gone out?
We've got to sit up, you say, because now we really have to find those monies on our own. Nobody's coming to help us or save us.
We have to double our efforts in being able to look after our people. Aid was coming in, grants were coming in towards health facilities, towards drugs for HIV, towards all manner of things.
That's right.
This has been cut. Even our own security, the types of grants that come in for our military men to be able to go. If today the UN decides to say, look, I'm not going to pay anymore for peacekeeping, do you know what that means to our military and our security? They're all going to come back home. No jobs. No money coming from anywhere. It means we have to look for money somewhere to keep them.
We need to stop the wastage and stop the corruption. Rodaline, thank you for your thoughts on this particular issue.